Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma, and this is what I call my morning musings. I'm currently sharing with you a thumbnail sketch of covenant eschatology. Covenant eschatology says the coming of the Lord, judgment, and resurrection is linked to the end of the old covenant world of Israel that occurred in AD 70, as opposed to the futurist view that those events are linked to the end of the current Christian age and the end of human history. I've shared with you a great deal of information, and by the way, this will be the last in this series. So if you have a suggestion for me of what you would like for me to cover next, go ahead and send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. Well, I've been sharing some thoughts with you from 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Paul says, when this corruption shall put on incorruption, and the mortal shall put on immortality, then shall be brought to death the saying, death is swallowed up in victory. O grave, where is your, or death, where is your sting? O Hades, where is your victory? The sting of death is sin. The strength of sin is the law. Paul therefore ties the resurrection with the end of the sting of death and the strength of sin. Now the question is, what was or is the strength of sin? Well, Paul says it's the law. Okay, what is the law? Now look at it like this. People say, oh, resurrection is at the end of the Christian age. Well, then that must mean that the Christian law, the law of grace, is actually the strength of sin. Really? Jesus' gospel of grace, salvation by grace through faith, is actually the strength of sin? Empowering sin? No. In Pauline literature, he uses the term the law 110 times. There are only 10 occasions in which he uses the term the law when he does not refer to Torah, the old covenant law of Moses. And in each of those 10 examples, the context makes it abundantly clear that what law he is talking about, that it cannot be the law of Moses. In the rest of the occurrences of the term, the law, it is invariably a referent to the law of Moses. There is not one word in 1 Corinthians 15 to suggest that Paul has any other law in mind. The only law that Paul ever identifies as the strength of sin was Torah. Paul said, I had not known sin except the law said, thou shalt not covet. Romans chapter 7 and following. Paul said, the law was added that sin might abound. Romans 5:21. No, Torah was the law that was the strength of sin. The resurrection would be when, pardon me, suddenly came out of nowhere, didn't it? The resurrection would be when the law, that was the strength of sin, would be overcome and removed. The law that is the strength of sin was Torah. Therefore, the resurrection was when the law that was the strength of sin, i.e. Torah, was removed. Torah was removed in AD 70. That's when the resurrection occurred, when the power of the holy people, Torah, was overcome and destroyed. You see, eschatology, biblical eschatology, really is all about the end of the old covenant age of Israel. It is not about the end of the gospel covenant of grace. Thanks again for joining me so much, and don't forget, all of this information and more is in my book, We Shall Meet Him in the Air, The Wedding of the King of Kings. Go to my websites, www.eschatology.org or www.bibleprophecy.com. Order a copy of this book. You will be amazed at the amount of information that's in it. Mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I'll refund your shipping. Thanks again for joining me. Hope you have a blessed weekend. We'll see you on the flip side.